Awesome. I think we're live, Miss Paige. Woohoo!
Happy to
Hey,
be here.
oh, I love it. Hey guys, welcome to the Sharon the Red Baron show. And I would love to introduce you to my new friend, Miss Paige Trineman, like cinnamon, to share her story about her great awakening and basically leaving the Mormon church. So can I ask you to maybe share a little bit about how you were brought up, family, religion, what did you like to do and that sort of thing? I'd like to know.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you for being interested in my story.
I love it. I'm definitely interested.
It's an honor for me to share it, and especially if someone can resonate with it, and especially if it helps them to come into their own essence, because that's really important to me.
I agree.
Uh,
Yeah.
so I grew up in Alpine, Utah. Utah, of course, as everyone knows, is a Mormon hub. And then Alpine is a small mountain town within Utah. I had a lot of siblings. My father built our house with his brothers out of stone. It's a regular house, but it was built, let's say, very frugally. And so my early experiences are exploring in the mountains with my siblings and a best friend, and
You could
very
have been
much,
besties.
it was
You could have been
amazing.
like, what's that little girl in that movie with, in the mountaintops and singing and all that? Like, oh, that would have been amazing.
Yeah, it was similar to that. I was a bit disconnected from, I would say, city life until later when I started modeling and acting and coming up into the city for auditions and things. But most of my experience was being connected to family and to the church because, of course, church was every Sunday. We would go to meetings that were called primary during the week, where you would wear your pants and your dress over your pants, and then just like do a quick change up to get over to primary. And then you would, as you were older, you would go to what was called young women's, and you would have your community of young women who had certain values and goals that were all directed towards being a good Mormon.
Love it. I love it. Gosh, so it was in the family already, clearly. So
It was in the
interesting.
family, and then to add to that, I married a Kimball when I became engaged to a Kimball at age 19.
Oh, wow. He was like, I like her. She's a cutie. Right?
He
Mm.
recognized that, like, small town, good girl kind of vibe, and someone who could grow with him and not necessarily oppose him, that would go with this narrative, that would make a great little addition to this life that we had both been taught was like the way
Mhm.
to raise a family and be a good, once again, a good Mormon.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. 19. Wow. Wow. Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine. I mean, well, when I think about it, when you look at documentaries and so forth, how people married younger back in the day, because I think they were way more mature than the people are nowadays, right? When you think about it.
Yeah, well, Sharon, I had a list. I had a little list on yellow paper that was like, this is the perfect life. You'll have a house, four kids, a boat, um, a loving marriage,
Mhm.
and it was a pretty simple list. But I checked off the list by about age 28, I would say, and there I was at the pinnacle. And something was still missing. And
Mm.
he had, he was a doctor. He was a doctor, and a good one at that. And
Mhm.
so to leave something that feels like the pinnacle of your existence is actually pretty tricky.
Yeah, I
Because
bet.
you feel like you've arrived, but I knew there was something more. And at this stage, I think that was my oversoul, or it was a part of me that knew more, that was kind of whispering to me, hey, there's a bigger world out there. There's more truth, there's more to experience, more to know, and more to be. And I chose listening to that over everything else, which completely exploded my life.
Oh yeah, that I can only imagine. So can I ask, did something not feel right? Or I mean, I understand like something was calling to you, but was it that maybe you didn't agree with a lot of what was happening in the church, or just a little bit of both? Like there was something yearning inside. Like, can you go a little deeper about that?
I mean, there were always those teachings regarding blacks and the priesthood, blacks not receiving the priesthood when the whites
Mm.
did, for example, the way that the church treated homosexuality. Those were things that definitely they got under my skin. But as an Orthodox Mormon, I was taught to kind of put that on the shelf and let God deal with that in His own time, and then follow the ecclesiastical leaders and just treat it how they treated it. Well, I was okay to put that on the shelf for a minute. Um, but really, there are two things that got to me. And one was that I was already a perfectionist. I already had patterns of trying to keep up my image and have a perfect life. And the pressure was really getting to me. So that was happening already. And the second thing that was happening is I wanted good sex. I I wanted to live an orgasmic life, and I had no idea.
Oh, oh,
I was
do
married
they
for
allow
20
toys?
years. 20
Please, you're
years.
talk so one thing I wanna share with you is there's gonna be a lot of people from New England that will listen to this in due time, and this is fascinating to me because I really still don't know much about the Mormon community, and honestly, when I moved out here, every other person was like, "Ooh, you can't wear that, the Mormons are gonna look at you," and and I was like, "Who are these Mormons people? I'm gonna do what I want, I don't care," I mean, it just I've never heard that, so for me, I'm like, "I'm not letting anyone tell me what to do." I'm like, "They can kiss my ass," and I don't mean any disrespect in a mean way, but that's just the way I am. I was like, "Well, the last time I checked, so anyhow, I digress. So you were looking for some hot you-know-whaty.
Well, I didn't even know how to want what I was missing, to be honest with you.
Mm,
Because I didn't have that period of time where you're dating and you're figuring out your body and what feels good to your body, and like being
oh.
attracted to a hot guy. I skipped over that whole thing and I went straight into marriage. So,
Yeah, that's wow. Yeah, that's a different perspective for sure, because you didn't get to experiment.
yeah,
I mean, you know what I'm saying. You really yeah, wow.
it's so much deeper than that because it's missing a whole section of human development, of sexual development, and emotional health and well-being. And so skipping over that is a very common experience in Mormonism, and it comes out in really funky ways. So it comes out in for example, men being really sneaky with pornography because they have shame around their base needs, their basic needs to have pleasure and have sex. And so they sneak it in other ways. And then that blows up into looking like the problem. And that's not the real problem. The real
Mhm.
problem is owning your desires and your sexual, normal, healthy nature as a human being.
Okay, can I ask you a question without sounding ignorant? Because again, I was brought up hardcore Catholic. I shouldn't say hardcore. I went every weekend till throughout high school. Um, but are you saying that you guys being married, you couldn't really have sex except to
Well,
procreate or something like that? Or
I'll simplify it a little bit for you
Hmm.
because when I got married, it was 1990. And I'm sure things are a little bit different now. But at that time, the thinking was you can have oral sex with your married partner if you want, but that's between you and God if that's okay. Okay, so even the thought that you should clear that with, a higher power, you can
He's
see
watching you anyhow.
this is the messaging that's happening there. And so we had to, within the marriage, overcome that obstacle of that being okay. So that gives you an idea of the conditioning that comes with
So
being
you couldn't really have sex, is what you're saying.
I would say
Oh, that's a problem.
we could, but when you're
I'm sorry.
it's a problem when you're taught to put on the brakes. So
Uh-huh.
our nervous system, it's a little bit complicated because we get into NLP, which is neuro linguistics programming, and your beliefs and your nervous system are connected.
Mhm.
And so when you've been conditioned to put on the brakes, and this is spoken to in a book called Come As You Are, great book on sexuality.
Good song by Kurt Cobain is wonderful. Come as you are.
Yes,
See? There
but
you go. There's another numerology. Sorry.
but you can come as you are. You can't. You're taught not to come as you are. You're taught to put on the brakes.
Mhm.
And so even now, see, I'm 50, 53, and I
Stunning 53.
still overcoming the braking system and putting on the gas system, because there should
Mhm.
be a great balance. Like for a healthy balance would be you have the ability to put on the brakes when you want, have the ability to put on the gas when you want, and you
Mhm.
get to choose.
Hmm.
So my
What,
work,
did you hit the gas a lot after a while?
you know what? I still have like a preferred way to put on the gas that's more controlled, because I have a desire to have a greater intimacy in a sexual container. Um,
God gave you that beautiful body. Like, it's a gift. I mean, and one thing that I've realized myself over the last decade or so is, it really it concerns me about labels in general. I mean, everyone is labeled. We're all labeled. I've encouraged people to, mute their TV commercials because they're basically brainwashing you. You're too ugly. You need this. You're in debt. You need to do this. But my point is I feel like the pressure is on women so much that we can't even be ourselves. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? It's just like I don't want to look like Britney Spears or Kim Kardashian. Why can't I just look like Sharon Kasleka and you look like, does that make sense?
well, I'll
One of
tell
the
you,
things that kind of get me
I I
confused.
definitely succumb to that. There's a part of the reason why there is this. There's a lot of plastic surgery and cosmetic procedures that are being done in Utah, and I
I noticed that, and I thought that they were supposed to treat their bodies like a temple. Like I've heard stories where someone I know, she was in back in the day, she was an airplane attendant, and she saw all the Mormons come on the plane, and there they are, they're boozing it up and bringing, doing their nips and prostitution, and like I'm like, but wait a minute.
so that's one of the wonky ways that this sexuality comes out. I think um, is is in the overcorrection, let's say, of the problem. This medal, do you see this giant medal? This
Yeah, what is that?
first place. This is first place in bikini masters division of NPC bodybuilding. Okay, I got this giant first place medal because the first place I went to when I left the church was bodybuilding, because
I
I
love it. I used to, well, I wasn't that much, but I love, did you do the weights? I loved weights back in the day instead of
my
aerobics.
bikini. It's like it's as big as a face mask. Like this tiny little. This is covering one nipple, basically. So I
Still in style, by the way.
first, and that was like my way of coping with the divorce, and it
Yeah.
was my way of saying like, "Hey, world, like, here's the best me," and it
Well,
still
you
wasn't.
were keeping your mind a little busy and you were being physical. I think that
It
I
was
see what you're
therapy.
getting to though, but yeah.
It was therapy, and then I dived deep into, I was a personal trainer and a meal prep coach, and I was like, for sure, this is the answer to make people happy. Well, I learned that it wasn't, and I kept diving deeper down the rabbit hole and came out with something pretty remarkable. But just
What
to
do you
show
mean by
that,
what do you mean by
well,
that?
well, I just kept going because I saw that not only was I not happy with that, that the people that I was leading in the fitness industry, it wasn't the answer for them either. I knew that mindset was a much more potent, um, uh, what, a more potent
You have to
quality.
be I get what you're saying though. It's like I get it. Yep.
Change would never be the answer. It wouldn't last and it wouldn't be deep enough without getting to the very core
Like
of,
they really want it. Like they want it, but some people are just like, I want it,
well,
but it's like so many other things in life, right? It's like, I want that so bad. And then you're like,
yes, but if you don't know why you want it, even if you get it, it won't be satisfying.
I
So,
agree.
so
There's
that's
more to life than yep.
I went deep into belief systems, and I have created a method for transformation that is, it's lasting, and it uncovers all of it because
It
I
exposes your junk like coming out. Like I totally understand what you're saying. It's like so many people just have to just own it and hit rock bottom and listen to that inside voice because that's what I feel like they don't want you to know is finding your inside voice. Because once you do, you're like, okay, you're not going to tell me what to do. You're not. And once you get focused on that, like no more, no more. And it doesn't have to do with the Mormon church. I mean, in general terms, it's like no more. And I feel like when, especially women hit that point that they know they'll never be happy unless they just face it head on, you're just spinning the wheels, right?
yeah, well, and it was really challenging for me to put, speaking of putting something on the shelf, to put Jesus on the shelf because I didn't know what to do with him. I didn't know what to do with these things that were core and fundamental to my belief system. And I knew there was something important about them. I just didn't know where it fit in the big picture. And so in my journey, which we don't have time for the whole thing in this conversation, but when I realized that I got to have that light, I would say like that Christ light or that divine spark back in my life, and that I actually really had it inside of me
Yeah.
and lit back up and started to guide my life from a different
Rise and shine, baby doll.
perspective, it was just the best game changer ever. It was like having your cake and eating it too. I didn't
It
have to
does feel
control everything. I got to still be myself and hold these special beliefs and be in my power and the whole thing. And it
and
was
not
just,
being told what to do all the time. My gosh. I don't mean any disrespect to any church, but that's, like I said, I was brought up hardcore Catholic, went every weekend, did the CCD thing and all that. And I just, I'll mention this till the day I die. I just remember sitting in the church when I was probably a freshman in high school, and I just was questioning so much. I'm like, okay, so she's pregnant with the baby over there. That's a big no-no. So is she going to go to hell? Because, I mean, I had all these questions and I thought something just doesn't feel right. I just feel let's make it simple and just be a good person, try to help others because someday you're going to need help and live by the golden rules, and it's like our world in politics and your tax returns. No one can understand all these laws, and I feel like we got to get back to simple.
uh,
And
I
when you
re-
find that light, like you're saying, it's just like you're like, wow, this was here all along, and I was trying to block it out because that's not what I was taught. What's happening, right? I mean, is that how
I,
you felt?
I can relate to that. And also, Um, I I remember there's a death that happens for people when they realize that their religion was either false or it was misleading. And
Mhm.
um, for me, a lot of people really struggle with that, and their life just falls apart. For me, I actually am grateful for my path, and I'm grateful for my experience in organized religion. And the reason for that is that it taught me to believe in magic. Now, that may seem counterintuitive, but let me explain. So, we're taught in religion to believe in something we can't see.
Correct.
Right? We call it faith, is another name for that. And that is that is essential even for seeing yourself, and even for waking up inside of yourself and knowing that you have like a seed of divinity inside of you.
That's actually legit. Scientifically, they've proven it. There's the Christ gene is in within all of us. I posted that, I think, not too long ago on my Facebook page, and literally, you always know when you're shadow banned because it's like, nope, we don't want people to know that. Come on. Yeah.
So I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful that I was taught that family is foundational, because it is, and that brings me a lot of joy. Like that big medal is doesn't even compare to this little tiny necklace that has the names of my children on it,
Mm,
each of my
yeah.
4 children. This is far more special to me than that giant first place medal, because
Yeah.
that's the most special thing in this existence to me is my kids.
Yeah.
So there are certain things that the church taught me, and no matter what, when we reject our path, we reject ourselves. And so there is a place for this windy, crazy path that brings us to this present moment. And when we can be grateful for it and neutralize those negative feelings of like, of just like,
Tired of not being accepted or
it was you. A lot of people are like, biggest waste of my time ever. But when we can alchemize the experiences of our lives, that had we known better, we would never have gone down that path, that becomes like the fuel for lasting change for ourselves and other people. So I'm grateful for it.
yeah. And obviously I wasn't with the Mormon church or anything, but that resonates a lot with me. And I feel like all viewers down the road that give a listen to this is, you know, everyone always asks, why are you doing this to me? Why am I such a bad person or what have you? And one, I think half of experiences in our lives is hurt people. And I'm not saying in your situation, but I feel like a big portion of why people end up starting to go down the wrong path or something is because someone really hurt them. It's just like in the movies. Hello. They're showing kids how to be bullies because they may not be getting the attention at home or something's going on. And I just feel like, I've had a lot of my own, like, why, and now I realize, I just like you want to be your true authentic selves and let yourself shine. And you're not comparing yourself to anyone, and just let me be me. And I feel like so many people are just kind of brainwashed nowadays through everything you look at on TV, your radio, news, all that. It's just bombarding people's minds. And I feel like once people can accept why they like your hard times when they go through it, like there was nothing ever wrong with me. Like this is a huge test, and I'm pretty badass that I'm actually still here and I didn't cave in to what everyone else wants of me. Right? I love it. I love it. So can I ask though, how was the transition for you with the people that you knew from the church? I mean, overall, I mean, I've heard a lot of things where a lot of people are just exiled from friends and family. I mean, how
Um,
did that go for you? If you're open to sharing.
Absolutely. There, it, there's some. was some pain and still is some pain around that. Because when you leave, it feels like people aren't interested in your life anymore. If you're not going to be participating in that system, in that belief
Mhm,
system,
mhm.
it feels like you're just not being invested in anymore as a person. And so, um, groups that I was with that, rode bikes together or we painted together, things like that, or the
Did they
whole
just kind of
structure
disappear?
as a women's organization that fell apart. So
Mhm.
that felt very isolating.
Can I ask you, so when you had these friends in those special groups and stuff like the painting and so forth, did you not really have any other friends outside of the church for the most part? Or
Not really,
so
not for
that was your family. That's
it was like a big extended family. I do still have my sisters, but even my sisters, when I first left, they thought I was going crazy. They thought
you know your family sister or the church sisters.
my immediate family. So
Okay, I just wanted to clarify, being from New Hampshire, we got to learn this terminology.
my very own sisters in my family, they thought I was a little crazy. They're like, why would you leave this man and this religion and this perfect life? And they scheduled an appointment for me to see a therapist to get my mind straight. So, and granted, I probably was acting a little bit crazy, because I actually believe that I had to leave my body a little bit to make this shift. Like energetically, it was such a difficult shift for me and such a big change. I do think I was disembodied for a little bit, which is partly why when I came back, I went into embodiment as a practice and as a study because
You
obviously
wanted to learn.
I went straight to sex, love, and relationships. I went into coaching for that. My first Facebook Live ever was on female ejaculation. I went straight to the meat of figuring out.
Because you were so curious. Like
I
your
mean, I
first
was a
boyfriend
little
must
bit
have been like,
crazy.
I hit the jackpot. Like she's ready.
I was a little bit
If
crazy.
we could say that openly.
But the reason I bring that up is because when I was finally free of that paradigm of like, nope, you can't look outside these walls, I ran. I did not walk. I ran. I was like, give me all the books. I'm going to do, plant medicine and read about all these things. And I created a program for women to have better orgasms. I was just
Oh
all
my gosh, I should hook you up with my girlfriend back east, Dr. Margarita. Oh my, she, anyhow, I digress. Yeah, that's a thing. I mean, what kind would you want? Yeah, anyhow,
anyway,
anything
like
woman, just,
I don't
it's
know what I just
better
I
than porn.
but I didn't walk. I ran to just absorb all the information I could because I wanted to figure this out. And I went really far, and then I kind of came back to like, okay, I still need to live a normal life with human connections, and I want to make impact on this planet, and I can't do it when I'm disconnected. So I do feel like I'm back in my body, and I have figured out what I want to offer the world, where I want to land, and now I have a business partner.
Oh. I love how you just explain that though, because when you think about it, it's, when someone is trying to break free from whatever, they want to explore, right? I mean, that makes sense. My gosh, I mean, I see it. I'm not even kidding you. If I showed you my feed on how many people from the Mormon church want to share their stories, I'm so excited because I'm learning about the religion, but I'm also learning about all these things. I'm like, ooh, 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 and I'm just like, how can I put this? I am more spiritual, but I found the big guy upstairs through my spirituality. And the more that I've learned through every esoteric religion out there is he was more spiritual. Does that make sense? Like he was spiritual and he liked things simple. And um can I ask you, I've got a question. And then I think a lot of people on the outside are curious about is um how can I word this? So how does their donations and all that so again, me coming from New Hampshire, I'm looking around and I'm seeing people walking around door to door, and I thought maybe they were like the Boy Scouts or something, they were these young guys. I'm older now, so everyone looks super young to me. But I'm like, "What?" And that's when I was told that the Mormon Church sends people out to pick up I don't what do you call it exactly? Or what does the church call it where you
Like,
donate your money?
oh, I'm not aware of solicitations for money per se. I think that there's a missionary program, and they're very, very active in the Mormon religion in proselytizing and going door to door and teaching people about their beliefs and inviting them to learn more.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
but once you are in the organization itself, it is expected of members to give 10% of their earnings to the church,
Okay, mm.
which definitely helps that organization to have a lot of money and a lot of resources, which they use for how they see fit. A lot of that, besides owning some property and
Mhm.
investments, also goes towards providing clothes and food for people in need, mostly within the church, but also without.
Yeah.
And also, I was a humanitarian missionary with my ex-husband, and we were part of the organization that went and taught neonatal resuscitation to third world countries.
Mm.
And they provide not only that service, but wheelchairs, prosthetics, vision surgery. And so there's some really beautiful um, clean water, digging wells. It's a beautiful program to help the basic needs of people, regardless of their religious status. And part of that money will support those programs. And
That's that that actually is a really that is cool, and I love hearing that. Can I ask you, so do they do a lot of things abroad, or do they I mean, I understand they do things within the state and so forth, but do they go to other states within the country, or how does that work? There's
yeah, I mean the and Mormon is just a nickname. It really is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Another nickname would be LDS.
yeah.
Um, they like having Jesus Christ in the title because it's based on his teachings. But this is a worldwide religion, and they help people all over the world. So the headquarters of the church is in Salt Lake City, Utah, which is where I live.
And
Um,
that's for is that for the entire religion around the country? Okay,
yes.
that's what I thought. I see, I hear things, so I just this validates and helps me understand as well. So
Yeah,
that's
so when you see there's a twice yearly conference for all the church members in the world, and so people fly in from all over the world to listen to the prophet and the apostle, the 12 apostles, to teach and instruct and elevate. That happens all here in Salt Lake City, but it's televised all over the world.
crazy, crazy. Um, I love that. I love that. Um, so what about so how long do you feel and I gather from a lot of people that there's still some things that harbor within them. Um, but you just I mean, us talking before we even got recording and all that, like you really I can tell that you have done the work on in here inside of you. Um, how does that feel now? And how long have you been feeling that way, should I say, where you just feel like your own person and you still have the big guy upstairs with you? You know what I mean? Like how did you how long did it how many years did it actually take you to get there and how long has it lasted, should I say? Does that make more sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I talk about that death of your belief system being a big deal, it's painful for most people leaving religion, let alone like a marriage,
Mhm.
a family.
Yeah, yeah.
But, redefining who God is to you. is a very intimate process. And for most people, that takes a lifetime, really, figuring out who God is to you, um, where Jesus Christ or Buddha or whomever fits into that paradigm. And for me, having a strong belief system before actually helped. Um, it's been a whirlwind.
Yeah,
I
I see where you're going with that, though. It's like a structure that actually helps you structure
well,
what you were going through in a way. Yeah.
I mean, going from someone who believes that God the Father and Jesus Christ are the main players in your spirituality and your guidance system, and then this ethereal thing called the Holy Spirit or the Holy Ghost, the Trinity, going
Mhm.
from that paradigm to the paradigm I have now, which is that I am very much a part of that system, that is in me and everywhere. And I have an acronym now for God, which is it's my grand omniscient dream team. And it's more of a team. This is my team, it's my God team versus like God is out here. Now I am part of a divine team that is my guidance system, but I'm really important as part of that team. And I don't put myself above God, but I don't put myself below God either.
And I think that was his message. That was Jesus's message. I mean, again,
Yeah.
in every esoteric religion, he wanted everyone to realize that you can be just as good as me, if not better. I mean, there are some religions where they're saying that we are our generation right here, right now, are the chosen ones.
Yes, yes. And I
That's
think
exciting to me. We're gonna be like superheroes.
it's so
You're
exciting.
gonna be Wonder Woman.
And there is still in someone who has incorporated religion as an important part of their life, there's still an element of shame when you place yourself equal to or above God. And so reconciling these nuances of who God is and who you are in relation to God, um, it requires some it either requires it requires expanding your mind to places it's never.
Quieting it too. Quieting it.
In that journey, you're going to come across all kinds of people that want you to buy into their program or like follow their shamanistic ways, and it can be really confusing. You can spend a lot of time and money and go down a lot of rabbit holes.
Mhm.
And the thing that's amazing about it is that when you do remember that it's all inside of you, it's really helpful because you have the map. Your DNA is the map to where to go, and it's not that somebody else has all the answers for you, and that can be really comforting because you can always just come right back. And that's
Yeah.
a practice in itself as well, is like trusting. That was the biggest thing for me leaving, is like, oh my gosh, am I going to be a good person? Can I trust myself if I leave?
Yeah.
I would say I'm grateful that that process took probably about 6 years for me to come into trust with myself, and I would say that's a relatively short amount of time.
It actually does sound short because I've actually talked to a few other people and they're still, it's been like 20 something years since they left. And, myself being on the outside and not really understanding, I'm like, that's a long time. I mean, I can't imagine how people feel alone in their own head, but at the same time, you're alone in your own head, so you can start thinking for yourself. And really, do you feel like just really calming your mind down, almost like your own meditation in your mind, just calming your mind down where you can listen? Like you literally are hearing messages. This is something I'm just intrigued by with so many people and all their religions and so forth and I've learned this myself, is when I learn to quiet my mind, I'm a completely different person you can see that like I'm just like, and then I'm back to my high strong. But my point is I feel like when people really quiet their mind, those voices have already always been there. And who are they? You know what I mean? People, entertainment always, you think about entertainment and so forth. They're always telling you, listen to that little head, let your conscience be your guide, and Jiminy Cricket, they're telling you to listen within. And that's where I feel that a lot of people are going to make way. Is that kind of how you feel in a way as well?
Sure, I do, and I think it's really important for people to create that dream team because it's not the same for everyone. There are ascended masters who have come to the planet, or
Mhm.
I would say another way of saying that they're like the essence of their energy and what they taught is on the planet. And if someone resonates with that, that's the path for them because there's
Mhm.
something there for them. That
Mhm.
that means that that's probably it's either part of their path or part of their team that works for them. That's like their soul map and their why they're here to why they incarnated and what they are here to learn and explore in this lifetime. So I think
Mhm.
it is important to follow that, and I don't have any judgment on who that is for them. I know that with if you combine that seed within yourself with following those intuitive hits, that you're going to end up in a
You're gonna
happy.
figure it out. You'll figure it out eventually if you keep listening, right? Is that I love it because I just feel like that's happening. I mean, we are literally in the Great Awakening, and it amazes me. I don't know about you, but it just seems like so many people are awakening, whether it's from church or politics or what's happening in the world. Like people are literally awakening. And I love when I hear people share their stories because in a way we can all learn something from them. Like I love your story. I mean, look at you. You're sharp, you're stunning. You've got your stuff going. But I mean, when you think about it, gosh, I when I've had conversations with people, when we talk about this stuff, I mean, I'm just intrigued by how different everyone's awakening is. But what I love the most is that literally, again, I know I say this nonstop, but we've been taught in our entertainment that something like this is going to happen. But people want to believe that it's fantasy, but it's actually real. And the new book, when they write the new book, I know this sounds crazy, but entertainment is there for a reason because they're going to pick things and pieces out of clips and everyone's going to be able to recognize something during it's going to be glorious, but unfortunately it's going to get a little bit worse, I think. And I think that people such as yourself sharing your story though is going to help other people, awaken. And
I hope so because it can be so
it's
uncertain. And
it's going to.
and there is no untying of the shit with the light. It
Oh
can
yeah, it's following you. So you better
all together.
either accept it or right. Yep.
And it's we have a way of compartmentalizing our human brains of like this is good, this is bad. And when we realize that it just is and it just gets to be, that's a good starting place. I'll just say that
Yeah.
that's a good starting place. And we tend
Yeah.
to
A
out the entertainment industry and the fact that yeah there's a lot of
lot
the
of duality.
darkness being unveiled through entertainment and media, and there's a lot of light and it's both there and it's up to us to discern it. And so
I I love that you said that. Believe it or not, I know this sounds crazy, but when we were talking at first, earlier, I was so impressed by you by understanding that whole concept that in your entertainment, there's duality. Like, I love encouraging people, like, don't worry about the tone of their voice or how they're straining it. That's part of programming. Like, just, everything is a program. I like to explain to people that, it's in our faces. 155. That's literally a numerology code that I love because it is in, you've got your computer software, your computer program, you have your TV program, they're all called programs, and it's in our face and people don't. But I love that you see the duality because you can see the bad part of it. But if you listen between the lines, you can also listen to the good part of it. It's such a trick in the art of war it's just that this stuff fascinates me. I love it. It's better than just, you know, always being told what to do and, oh, these are the rules because that's just the way things are. Because that's just another line we've heard in our entity. Oh, it's just the way things are. And it's like, but no, why? you know, I'm fascinated by, when I was a little girl, I think all little girls, all little kids, we question everything. And then we go to school and then all of a sudden we're like, oh, okay, I guess this is just the way it is. But you want to learn how everything in nature works and why are these things in my body happening? I know we have health class and all that, but like literally, do you know what I mean? That's the kind of school that I wish I grew up with.
Yeah. And one of the things I love about you is you are a voracious learner and observer. And that's, you get lit up by numerology, for example. And
Yeah. And just watching your surroundings. I don't know about you. Do you always watch your surroundings? Because I always do.
our teacher, like in the partnership, the business partnership that I have, that is our greatest teacher is nature. We always partner with nature because all the answers are right there. You just need to pick up, I don't know, I'm looking at a plant. If I looked at this plant long enough, it would probably tell me exactly what I needed to know because
Yeah.
the
And
is perfect. Yeah, nature is a fabulous ally. But
I
um,
love, love, love that you said that because do you ever feel like when you're in nature, you wish that you didn't have to go back to work or you didn't have to rush and like you just want to stay there because it's just so there's no nothing to get in your head except just releasing and just I just love listening to birds and you know what I mean? You listen to the birds or a stream or listening to the trees and it's so calming. And then I hate it when it ends because you're just like, oh, go back. I just want to take this feeling with me. And I guess you can, right? You can. But I love that you found that because I agree. When people connect with nature, I feel like that's where they can another line in a movie, you can leave the world behind, you know what I mean? Literally. I mean, it's just
nature really encourages us to everything about it encourages us to be in the present. And
yeah.
um, literally when we're in it, it's realigning our molecules in our body and our charge within our body. And and that's why it feels so good. And
Yeah.
when peace, it's when you're one with that from that place, like you are nature and you are in your
Yeah,
essence.
we all are. And I love how you just explained that before I started going down the rabbit hole, I mean, my awakening was years ago, like 10 plus years ago. But my point is what you just said to me and people in the outside world, it's just like when you talk about the molecules and this and that, and everyone thinks it sounds so woohoo. And I'm thinking, well, what sounds woohoo about it? I mean, that's what it is, and it gets separated from
I
right.
It's science. It's science. Like
It
go
is.
follow Zach Bush, Dr. Zach Bush, or different people have already proven that it's real. So I don't need to argue it. I just need to accept it and then do it.
Yeah.
And
I love that part that you said. And not fight with other people that you're more spiritual now than how, because when you say that, I feel like it's an automatic like, oh, you're a woohoo kind of person because again, people are taught in their entertainment to treat it like that. And that's not the case at all from what I found. It's like this stuff is real in why it's the people that just want to try to push you down that there's something wrong with you that like they portray these people like, ah, you're some space shot or something where literally you're letting go and you're like, it's those aha moments. Oh, yeah, I love it. Well, listen, Paige, where can people find you? And tell us a little bit about your business. I want to hear a little bit more about that.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Well, right now I am devoting my energies into rebuilding life after divorce because I see an opportunity. I've partnered with someone who has been a divorce mediator for 25 years, who's
Hmm.
brilliant. And
I can
together,
only imagine the conversations in those walls. Right? Oh boy.
we feel like we can make great impact there. And we've created a program called Peace Amidst Chaos, and that's brand new. We're also bringing people who are interested in intuitive leadership. So, leading from a place of a new place of intuition versus just living up here, leading from heart and a knowing and leading from your essence. We're training our coaches so that they can help us to also create more mentors in the divorce industry and others.
I think
What
that's so wonderful too, though, because it's like you're kind of bringing the spirituality of the relationship to come through. Is that what you're saying?
when people go through times of great transition, they do become disconnected with themselves. My method that I created, it brings people, it aligns them with that essence and helps them come from a place where they can then manage their state for greater impact.
Yeah.
So any leader needs to come from that place of power by um, first being in resonance with themselves.
That they're important, that they matter.
Yeah, starting with that,
'Cause a
starting with
lot of people don't feel that way after a divorce or whatever they've
absolutely.
gone through. They feel like no one cares. I've hit rock bottom. I'm not important. I think everyone goes through that. And just having someone, I find this intriguing because it always just seems like, in my own opinion, that mediators are more like, okay, she gets the car, you get the boat, it just seems more materialistic, where it's not dealing with the other half of the problem. It's all the emotional baggage that's just lingering in you, and a lot of people have their own different ways of dealing with depression or anxiety or stress, whether it's eating or under eating and all. I mean, this is a big deal. I mean, it's not something that, like,
Well,
a regular mediator, that's what I'm saying, a regular mediator where you're taking it to a whole different level. And I think that's the part
level because
that's
divorce and
smart.
other life altering events, they don't have to knock you on your ass and take you out and ruin you.
Yeah. And
We
argue all the time
We're
and
elevating the
yeah,
process of divorce for being the best comeback and the best transformation of your life. And
that's right, girlfriend. That's
and
right.
there we would our vision is to have a place in the system, in the legal system, where
Yep.
that's an option. Your lawyer isn't your therapist. Um,
That's super smart.
have money for a therapist, your whole life is falling apart. So there, our vision is having trained mentors that can help you manage your emotional and your mental state at that pivotal time. um, and it's not gonna break the bank, and ideally you find that in the family law office that is offered to you when you go to get divorced. So it's not just like good luck, good luck getting divorced, like hope you
Yeah, I did.
have.
Paige, I think that what you're onto is a brilliant concept because, like myself, I mean, yeah, it's like basically they handed me a card, and like you said, when I went through my divorce, I'm like, okay. And it was hard for me, but I was just kept listening and and I just feel like that approach is way better than the standard approach that attorneys and mediators and all that do to me. And I'm just being raw and real. Like I would have gone through you instead of that other type of process, if that makes sense. Um, because gosh, I mean, it's hard to begin with. And then when you have children, it's a matter of how am I going to deal with this? It's not, it's more or less like, okay, yeah, I know I have to feed them and this and that, but like, how do I show them the way as well? Because it's not just about a single mom or dad on their own. It's like, I got to deal with my stuff, but then I got to deal with these little humans that I created and do the best that I can. And I think that's I'm just telling you right now, the spiritual world is here. Whatever anyone wants to call it, religion, the Great Awakening, whatever. I encourage people. I'm like, you don't know it's the Great Awakening? People look at you sometime and they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, just go on like YouTube and type in, are we in the Great Awakening on some like of the pastors and these top religious scholars all we're in it. We're in it. It's like
And you know what? We need each other because there's that process of realizing, oh my gosh, we're in it, and then maybe you're on social media going down the rabbit hole or whatever, or you're
everyone's gonna have to go down the rabbit hole though, for sure.
maybe you're getting divorced or changing up your life, and it can feel isolating, and that's why part of what we're doing involves community. So we want people to also have support around them while they're going through these
Yeah.
like wow
Like
like
I'm looking at everything a whole different perspective where you can be, I mean, and please don't get me wrong when when you see these interpretations in your entertainment where you're in groups and you have that is great. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like when you can bring it in even more on a spiritual level, like on the inside, like I'm not going to be judged here. And, because everyone's a sinner. Everyone's a sinner. I don't care who they are.
everyone.
I tell that to everyone. I'm like, you're a sinner. Do you gossip? Do you gossip? You're a sinner. I'm like, it's just the way it is. And, can I ask you, real quick before we wrap it up, do you kind of cater a little bit to the Mormon? I mean, excuse me, do you cater to them a lot? Is that kind of like your niche, or you do a little bit of everyone?
I mean, I would say that I am in a unique position to understand someone who's leaving organized religion in general or leaving anything
Yeah.
dogmatic, whether it be military, corporate, organized religion. Um,
I think you have a very good advantage going, and maybe that was the wrong word, but in a way you really do because you've been there, done that yourself, and it's just a matter of wow, I mean,
yeah,
instead of just sitting with a counselor going, I understand. How does that make you feel? Like that's another thing for me where I feel like again, and when I say this with an open heart. I mean, when you talk about people that have been human trafficked or pedophilia or really bad stuff or physical abuse and things like that, you definitely need a certain type of counselor per se that has that. But in general, one thing I've been recognizing myself over these years is again, I'm bringing the entertainment in is where, whether it's a TV show or a movie and they're sitting down with a counselor and they're showing you exactly what you can ask the same questions. They're like, so when did you start feeling this way? And then, it's just asking questions to yourself saying, I was about whatever. And do you remember what happened? And then,
yes,
oh, it was like that little boy, he kept like tugging my hair and he kept picking
yes.
on whatever it is. Like, you
I'm
know
glad
what I
you bring that. I'm glad you bring that up because that is the difference between traditional therapy and the emotional resonance method, which I created. Um, is that therapy relies on you remembering and being asked the right questions.
mean? Mhm.
When when you and let's say your client
How did it make you feel? Kind of a
when
thing.
we can access the information within our bodies and within the field.
Yeah.
um,
Because it's very real. People down the road, if you think this is all woo-hoo, start doing going down the rabbit hole because your energy is very, very real.
But when you have access to that information, things are going to really shift because the patterns will reveal themselves. And that's really what you want. You want to pick up on a pattern and on how in this lifetime you created your operating system, so to
Yeah.
speak. In your
There you
life.
go. There's another computer term that yeah, operating system,
Yeah,
energy.
so if someone is interested in a reboot of the central processing unit, that's what I do. And so far, I mean, I have a simple Calendly link, and people can schedule calls with me. They can also go through something called the body resonance method, which is coming into alignment within your own body, having a better relationship with that.
Yeah.
We He's a Midst Chaos program that's launching for people who are divorced. And if they want to go into intuitive leadership, that course starts actually this week. So
That's
the
awesome. I know
next,
you're gonna get you're again, I'm just gonna say within the next 6 months, you're gonna get so much business. It's gonna happen. I mean, these are the type of businesses that are actually gonna grow. And for all the people out there that are creatives and intuitive and so forth, like that's a gift. So for the people that laughed at you, all I'm gonna say, because this is my crazy coming out, all I'm gonna say is secretly your friends are jealous of you, so they want to make you feel like you're crazy and you weren't one of the chosen ones. And the people that were teasing you, and I say this with an open heart, but they're soon gonna recognize that actually maybe they weren't the ones that were the smart ones, and the people that listen within are the smart ones. So even though you don't understand their journey, do you get what I'm saying? Because it's a real thing. And I
I
wish everything good for everyone, but there's a lot of that going around right now. There's a
Yeah.
lot of that.
And the thing is, we're all in this together.
We are.
It's not like,
We
okay,
need each other.
I'm gonna be saved and you're not because you woke up later than me. Like we're all in this together, and
Yes.
it really is a blessing to start to have your eyes open. That like I would say, you become a pioneer. If your eyes open sooner, you get to be the pioneer and you get to lead the charge.
And
And
and I agree, I completely agree with you. And what I also love too is I feel like so many people that are creatives and so forth that go within, um, they know what it's like to hit rock bottom, and they know it's coming for other people, and they're not going to turn their backs on them because it's not in people that have that type of mentality. And I think it's going to be really beautiful that finally we can all come together, put your differences aside, and just get back to simple. Oh, it's going to, don't worry. But we're going to go through a lot of shit coming up soon. So people are going to be looking for a lot of questions for sure. For sure. See,
yeah,
I'm like a Utah person now. I'm picking up the for sure thing.
look at you, you're like a missionary in your own way.
Oh, you don't want to know the things that are going through my head. I just chunk it away. But honestly, I am. I'm really, really excited. I've been meeting a lot of great people. More on the spiritual side, if that makes sense, whether whatever religion, or it doesn't matter to me, just more of a spiritual side. I like those people, and those are the people that are rising and shining right now. And I'm really proud of each and every one of them. And I'm looking forward to, I've got so many other interviews lined up. I'd love to encourage you to listen to them as well, because it's just that pivotal moment where someone's listening to someone's story. Like whatever you said tonight, you could have a lot of people down the road that are just like, I feel the same way. And I feel like a lioness inside. And I just want to, and, it, yeah.
No,
I'm very, very,
I hope it gives people courage because I know there are people that are afraid to make the change, and
yeah,
for whatever reason, I gathered the gumption and listened to that voice to do it, and
yeah.
puts me in a position to then show a different way. And there are people that did that for me, that I followed their charge, and they were very brave in covering ground that had never been covered before. So I
Yeah.
appreciate all the heartfelt leaders out there. I appreciate you for asking the questions and you.
Oh no, I enjoy this stuff. You know how people like have hobbies and they do their arts and crafts? Like this is like my new hobby. I can't get enough of hearing everyone's stories because I find them fascinating. Instead of watching the boob tube after people get home from work, like this is the kind of stuff that I love, and you learn instead of just sitting there going, and because people don't even realize half the time when they're watching TV or they're listening to music, they're actually getting stories told to them and they're like boom boom, and they don't even realize that there's a real story that connects to what's happening right now. And when they expand their minds, it's just all they're going to be like, wow. They're going to be so like, they're going to be like, this is just so genius that the big guy upstairs works this way. That's a whole nother story on my
It,
take on
it's
entertainment and
delightful. It is delightful when you realize that life gets to be this magical thing that actually makes sense.
yeah, and it's so exciting because we've always heard that like you can be whatever you want and this and that, and you really can. But I believe in today's society, there's just everything is labeled. It's hard to be your true authentic self. So now when people really realize all those stories are very real, when you literally go within and do the work, whatever it is that you need to work on, people's like we all have our baggage. It's just so cool. It really is. That's Holy Spirit speaking inside of you. Just saying. And I appreciate you. And I have a funny feeling we're gonna be doing some things together. For sure. For sure. And I wish you all the luck with your business, because just remember 6 month mark from now. Tell me where you're at, because I know your business is going well now. Just wait. It's gonna happen. So
Thank you for your faith and thank you
thank
for your prediction.
you. Thank you. I am totally, totally honored. Okay. Is there anything else before I let you go? Any words of inspiration on what's going on in this world? Like any words of encouragement that you could leave with the viewers?
Mm,
I
uh,
always love asking this question.
yeah, thank you for asking that.
Words of encouragement.
I would just say if it feels dark right now, dark or confusing, I just keep feeling to tell the story of my nephew.
Mhm.
My nephew was struggling with addiction and depression for so many years, and he actually tried to take his life a few months ago.
I'm very
He,
sorry.
when he was drunk, he took a gun and shot himself. It went through this side of his neck, out the other, and the bullet lodged in his shoulder. He did not die. He
Wow.
was
Wow.
hospitalized,
How
and
old was he? Is he?
he's 29.
Wow.
So what happened was this became the beginning of his awakening, of his rebirth, I would say. And I know that things felt really dark for him, or he never would have picked up that. Um, but he is happier now and has a renewed sense of gratitude for life, of
Like
purpose.
that was a close call, right?
Absolutely. It was uh, a fraction from his spinal cord. That bullet grazed
Oh my
spinal
gosh, are you
cord.
serious?
And he can now walk. He can use one arm, and he is happier than he has ever been. And so
Wow.
I think about that story, and I tell that not to say like anybody can come back from anything, but to say that when things feel really dark and when things feel really confusing,
Yeah.
just hang on, because like right now in our business we're in that phase of like, wow, there's we don't know what to prioritize first. Everything's important and it can feel overwhelming, but that's
Yeah.
I would like to normalize the chaos and
Yeah.
actually shine a light on the fact that the chaos is holy too. and that is an important part. If you look to nature, like we're talking about,
Oh, absolutely.
that
Even if
decomposition.
it's winter time out.
Absolutely, like the when the trees look dead and when there's all this rot in the ground, it's
Yeah.
a rich time where there's actually a lot of activity happening. You just don't see it yet. And so if you're in that time in your life where it's just like,
Yeah.
wow, this is dead or this is a shit show or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
just keep keep going. Don't give up. Keep showing up for yourself because it will get better. The more
Yeah,
you honor yourself and that light within you, it just keeps getting better and better. So
I agree. I'm so glad to hear that he's okay. And, thank you for sharing that because honestly, I think everyone knows that. And I'm going to be open to being open. And if people say, no, I've never thought that, I think every single person in their entire life has thought about doing that because they just feel so alone, secluded. I can't be my authentic self. Everyone's telling me how to act or be, and all of that. And unfortunately, I'm going to say it, the elephant in the room, the politics and people just totally judging each other on politics, you know? I mean, let's all get a little bit more mature. It's okay to be different and have it. The most important thing is I think everyone is to just be open to being open. Doesn't mean that you have to believe what, and because there is a lot of turmoil out there and it's not just in our country, it's around the world. I mean, all these wars going on, Israel and Ukraine, and just it's devastating for everyone. And I think there's going to be a lot of truth that's trickles out all the time. And I just want to encourage people also, if something just doesn't make sense, I encourage you to start doing your research. Start not being told. It's kind of like what we were just talking about, stop listening to what you're being told. If something doesn't feel right, do your research. And there's going to be people that aren't going to be able to handle a lot of the truth that's going on out there in the world. And I think what you had just said is so important. Like, hang on, because something good is going to come out of this. Like something so good, they don't even know what's going to happen. It's going to,
feels like that, when it feels the ickiest, that means something good is right around the corner.
I agree.
And when
I,
we're pointing our fingers and saying they this and they that, and this world would be better if it weren't for them, if you just turn a finger and look at yourself and stay
Mhm.
in your business, stay in your growth,
Yeah.
it's the best place to be because it's
Yeah.
not about what's out there, it's about what's going on in here. When we fix that individually, it fixes it collectively. So
Yeah. Because no one else can listen to you better than yourself.
you got this, you got the answers. You
Yep.
do. Everybody
I
does.
adore you. This was a lot of fun, and I really appreciate everything that you've shared. I really, I mean that. And I appreciate you. And if anyone has any questions or anything, they can go right to you. And
Right now, they can find me on Instagram at Paige Trinman or Move Love Create. That's my nickname. Or they can go to Facebook and message me there. All
love
of
it.
our websites are under construction for the collaborations, but I do work with people in the programs that are important to me in the body resonance method. And soon we will have this divorce program for everyone struggling to
That's
elevate themselves out of that process.
that's gonna be magic. That's gonna be magic. I love it. I just don't like the standard boring. That's gonna be, I think a lot of people, if they really go inside here, they're gonna say the same thing, like, I don't want to divide the car and have no emotional support. So I think that's great. I love it. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sharon.
And thank you. And I will talk to you soon. Okay. I love it. Thank you for your time again. Okay. Good night.
Bye.
Bye bye.